Hey, what's up, everybody? Benji Bruce here with SpeakingLifestyle.com, and we're actually going to review Rick's website here. Rick, hope you're listening, hope you're paying attention because I'm going to be pretty brutal on this one and just be a little bit nitpicky about a few things. There are a lot of things that you want to change as far as just improving the website. First, we'll obviously start with your homepage. When I first come to your homepage, I think in terms of, okay, what's different about you? So I'm looking at your homepage, and you need to describe to me what's different. Basically a tagline where it says impossible is nothing. That's not a differentiator. That's just a simple tagline that anyone can come up with if you're creative and that sort of thing. So you want to think in terms of what's different about you. You'll notice that I always talk about my mind reading, all that stuff. So figure out what's different about you. And also, I basically think in terms of who is this website for. So as a meeting planner, you have to think in terms of who is this for? Is it for the meeting planners, or are you trying to build yourself up as an expert? If you're trying to build yourself as an expert, then this website would be constructed in a completely different way than if you're trying to get paid speaking gigs. A perfect example is Steve Spangler's website here. Steve Spangler, if you go to stevespangler.com, this guy, he has a great keynote speaking website. This is like one of the better websites I've seen. Everything that he talks on it, everything, all the words, everything is just great. This versus someone like Grant Cardone's website. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can pull this up here. So Grant Cardone, to where you can actually see the difference in the websites. Grant Cardone is obviously a sales speaker, and his website is a lot different than a keynote speaker's website. The things that go on it, what you type, everything is just completely different. So you have to first figure out what kind of speaker do you want to be. Are you trying to build yourself up as an expert or as a keynote speaker? And you can do both. So for example, if let's say Steve Spangler was, let's say he had a different website like Grant Cardone's, where he was selling all this stuff, and he had all this about events and products and all that sort of stuff. Of course you can do that. But they would be two separate websites, just like how Grant Cardone and Steve Spangler's websites are different. You would simply create two separate websites. So first, figure out who the website is for. Now, I'm assuming that the website is going to be for keynote speaking, getting paid gigs. And by the way, guys, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, then if you ever ask me for a website review, it's best if you tell me what's the purpose of your website. Are you trying to get keynote gigs? Are you trying to build a list? Are you trying to be the expert? What's the purpose of your website? And from there, I can actually help you even more. Right now, I'm just going to assume that the purpose of your site, Rick, is just to get paid keynote gigs. So that's the first thing. When I look at your site, from the copywriting standpoint, you want to study copywriting. And you can just go to Amazon and just type in copywriting, read all the books. But you want to study copywriting because here I scroll down and it says transform your life from mediocrity. And it basically says transform your life. It doesn't really give me a sense that you know my problem. So from a sense of a meeting planner, it's kind of like, okay, I'm a meeting planner. I'm planning this event. There's going to be 500 people, 500 employees there. We need to make sure this keynote speaker is top notch, really engaging, and all that sort of stuff. But you're talking about transform your life from mediocrity or quiet desperation. So it's kind of like, okay, how does that relate to me as a meeting planner? That doesn't really relate at all to what I'm looking for. Now, on the other hand, let's say that you were trying to be an expert and you were saying, okay, transform your life from mediocrity or quiet desperation to the fulfilling joy, and that sort of stuff. So you have all that on your website. You have to describe, you have to know my problem better than I know it. You have to describe it a million times better. So, for example, let's say depression. Let's say someone was depressed. you would say something like, that there are times when you just don't feel like getting out of bed. You wake up, you just don't feel like getting out of bed. And when you're around people, you hide the fact that you feel empty, but deep down, and then you just go on from there. So from a copywriting perspective, you want to make sure you study copywriting, because first you have to describe my problem better than I can describe it. And then from there, you go on with the solution. And then here you kind of say, if you're ready to enjoy greater levels of success, clarity, energy, productivity, happiness, and personal growth, you you basically listed a ton of different things. As someone coming to your website, I think in terms of you're being a jack of all trades. So if, on the other hand, if you said, if you're ready to enjoy greater productivity, now I know, okay, this guy focuses on productivity, making sure I don't procrastinate all the time management, all that sort of stuff. But when you say productivity, you say energy, I'm like, okay, is he going to talk about health and that? Or then you say clarity, okay, is he going to talk about focus and that? Okay, he says success, so is he going to talk about money, happiness here? And so all of these are specific topics that could be all by themselves. So you have to not be a jack of all trades. You have to focus on one of them and then just get extremely, extremely focused. Because from a copywriting standpoint, the things that you say for productivity are going to be completely different than the things you say for happiness. So it's important that you just focus on one of them. And also on all aspects of your site, every page on your site, all the text is very similar. It's too bundled up. You see, this is huge. This is a long paragraph, so it's all bundled up, and it's just harder to read on the eyes. So from a copywriting standpoint, you want to split these up into 2 sentences, 1 sentence. Make sure you bold stuff like this down here. But these huge, massive paragraphs, you got to get rid of that. You have to just split. You have to split everything up. From a copywriting standpoint, just the basics is you can think in terms of problem solution. So first you say what the problem is, then you give the solution, and then you provide proof of that solution. If you watch a lot of infomercials, they're obviously really great at it. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, but that's the basics of copywriting: problem, solution, and then the proof. Now, I do want to get to the sidebar here, because your sidebar, once again, it's kind of like you're building yourself up as an expert, but the text on a lot of parts of your site, it kind of says like, hey, hire me as a keynote speaker. The difference between building yourself up as an expert and getting hired as a keynote speaker is when you build yourself up as an expert, you're building around your products, your seminars, your events. But when you're building up as a keynote speaker, the speech is the product. So all of this, none of this stuff actually matters. The 7 key secrets and that sort of stuff. I just want to know, as a meeting planner, are you freaking engaging from the stage? Will you kill it on stage and that sort of thing? So, but let's take an example of this. Get the 7 secret keys free videos training right now. Just now. So what I'm thinking is keys to what? So it's like, get the 7 secret keys. Secret keys to what? That's what's going on in my head. What exactly will this help me accomplish? Whenever you create something, whenever you have something in the sidebar and you want someone to sign up, the things that are going to get people to sign up are, number 1, it has to be very specific. And then number 2, it has to solve a specific problem. So if I'm teaching people how to be, how to get like 6-pack abs or so, I'm a fitness trainer, I'm teaching people how to get 6-pack abs. I'm not going to say sign up and get a health plan, get a diet plan. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, here's the one food that you need to eat every day if you want to get 6-pack abs. So do you see how specific that is? It's the one food, the one fruit, the one vegetable, the one thing that's going to get you 6-pack abs. Where you say the 7 secret keys free videos training now, I'm kind of thinking, all right, what exactly am I getting? It's not specific enough. It's not solving a specific problem. From the Speaking Lifestyle website, The biggest lead magnet that we have is where we say, download this directory of events so you can get hired, so you can find events. So it not only solves a specific problem for keynote speakers of how do I actually find events to contact, but it's very specific in itself. Download this list, this directory, and you want to do the same thing with this. Now, when I click on this podcast part, basically the podcast, it goes to your video here. So you want to instead, when someone clicks on the podcast, they're interested in hearing the podcast. If you don't have it set up yet, what you want to do is have an opt-in form right here. And so instead of the video, you need to have the opt-in form to where it says, okay, you're interested in the podcast, then go ahead, just sign up for the podcast, and I'll let you know when it's available. So that's what you want to have there. When I click on this featured solution part, well, number one, before I clicked on it, so I'm here on your homepage, and before I clicked on it, I scroll down, I see featured solution. In my mind, I'm like, what is featured solution? I don't know what that is. So you'll notice that very few people will actually click on this because a featured solution doesn't really tell me anything. I don't know what it is. But when I click on it, and we'll just wait. When I click on this, it's kind of like this is more like a blog post more than anything. So you want to just put this on the blog. But the featured solution where it says that part there, the featured solution in sidebar, you just want to make that more specific, just like the lead magnet. So just make it way more specific. Now, I do want to talk real quick about your video. So the video here on the homepage, notice this thumbnail. This thumbnail, as a meeting planner, to me, it doesn't do anything. As a meeting planner, I want to know how engaging you are, how good are you as a speaker, and will people love your presentation. Right here, all it says is just Rick, and then just your tagline, and then from Vimeo, it has all this stuff. So you want to you want to get rid of all this stuff. Go to your Vimeo page and then go to the embed section of the settings and uncheck all of this. Uncheck the name and uncheck all of this. All you want is just the video. You just want them to click the play button. You want to think in terms of if it doesn't add, then it detracts. So all of this stuff, it doesn't add to anything, it just takes away. Now with the thumbnail, once again, I'm thinking as a meeting planner, okay, is this speaker really entertaining? Is it really engaging? And this thumbnail doesn't say anything. It doesn't help me at all. Instead, you want to put a picture of an audience, so maybe audience laughing or just a bigger audience size, the size that you want to get hired for, because once again, it provides social proof. So your website lacks a lot of social proof, which I'll talk about in a second. But with the video, when I watch the video, a lot of the video, it talks about you. So you say, when I did this and I did that, and here's what I believe, and I think like this. As a meeting planner, I'm thinking I don't care about you. I just care how engaging are you? How engaging is your presentation? Will this guy be worth $10,000 to bring on stage and deliver this presentation? So that's all I care about as a meeting planner. It's much better if you started saying like this is going to be a very engaging presentation and using those words. So just pay close attention to that. And then what you also can do is you can use a video embed called Wistia, Wistia, Wistia. I don't know how they pronounce it, but what you can do is you can essentially put this video into there and put another video into there. And what Wistia will tell you is how long people are actually watching your videos and when they're dropping off. So it'll say like, okay, at the 1 minute 31 second mark, that's when you get a huge drop off. And what this is going to help you do is it's going to, number one, figure out, okay, how long should the video be, but also should I have this video up or should I have another video up where people see me presenting and they see the reactions that I'm getting. So just keep that in mind with your videos. And then here, let's go to the speaking page. So once again, the podcast, when I click on that, I go here, I see your video, but what I should see instead is, hey, sign up and I'll let you know when the podcast is going to be available. But here, where I click on the power of your plastic brain, Now it says, okay, unleash the power of your incredible plastic brain. And this is a huge disconnect. How well is your team or organization currently performing? In my mind, I'm like, huh? Like, okay, it went from unleash the power of your incredible plastic brain to how well is your team or organization currently performing. There's a big disconnect right there. If, on the other hand, this said something like team building or team peak performance or something like that, now there is no disconnect between how well is your team or organization performing. But when you talk about how unleash the power of an incredible plastic brain, and then you go on to the team, I'm like, what? Like, it's just such a big disconnect. And as I kind of read, what a lot of speakers do is they essentially confuse what they teach with how to sell what they teach. So it's important that you don't necessarily describe what it is you teach, that you don't say, like, here's how this is done. There's a difference between teaching something and selling it. So you want to make sure that you're not going into too much detail about how this thing works, but more of selling it in terms of just selling the presentation about the engagement and that sort of thing. At the bottom here, when I read the bottom, this final paragraph, you talk about how they leave with ways to increase sales. So you see, it says deflect rejection, increase sales, and overall performance. So basically, once again, where you talk about how to increase sales, it's kind of like, all right, increase sales, or when I scroll up to the top, how well is your team or organization performing? Once again, there's a huge disconnect. I'm thinking, okay, are you talking about increasing sales, or are you talking about how to build a better team for me? Which one? That's what you have to decide. You have to focus on one of them and then tell me which one it is. Don't try to be everything to everyone. Don't say you're going to increase sales, you're going to make people happier, you're going to have all this stuff, you're going to build a better team and all that. You have to focus just on one of them. And then from there, the copy on your website and everything that goes on your website will be a million times better. Now, when I go to the events page, once again, if you don't have a specific event going on right now and there's like no way to buy a ticket to the event, then you want to just put an opt-in form there. So you want to say, are you interested in this? Here, opt in. I'll let you know when it's available. Or you can simply put a sold out button type thing on here as well. But if you don't want to just have this, just text on here, you want to make sure that they take some sort of action. If I truly wanted to attend one of your events, you basically didn't let me either purchase a ticket or you didn't let me sign up to where I can be notified of when to purchase a ticket. And then once again with the copy, don't have these huge, massive paragraphs. It's just too much. So that's basically on the events page. On the training page, if you are trying to get hired as a keynote speaker, remember that your presentation in itself is the thing that you need to sell, which means that you want to take off this whole training page, the whole training part. People don't really hire coaches by reading something on a website and then saying, oh, okay, I read all this stuff. Let me hire this guy and let me pay him 10 grand, 15 grand. That's not how the coaching works. The way it works is they follow you for a while, maybe by listening to your podcast here or the blog. They follow you for a while, and then eventually you offer up the coaching. So there's no reason to have the coaching on the page, especially if this is for selling yourself as a keynote speaker. And that goes for the solutions page as well. So when I go to the solutions page here, you got the megaphone opt-in. So this is kind of how you should be doing with the events page and that sort of stuff, where you should get people to opt in. This has to be more specific though, which is what I talked about with the sidebar. But basically with the solutions page, you want to take that off as well if you're trying to sell your keynote speech, simply because the solutions page, when I click on self-talk, all of this is basically a blog post. All the stuff on the solutions page is basically a blog post. So why not just put it in your blog? Like, you have the blog here, so just put it in the blog. Once again, just remember, if it doesn't add, then it detracts. In this solution page, it doesn't add. Now, when we go to the About page, once again, the huge, massive paragraphs. You want to split these up, and then you want to make sure that you need to sell me on why you're different. Don't just tell me about your background. Sell me on why you're different. Include a lot of social proof of the companies that you've been hired by. So immediately when it says like Rick is an expert, and then you say companies like XYZ brought him in and that sort of stuff. So you want to not only sell me on why you're different, but include tons of social proof. And on the blog page, when I go to the blog page here, and I click on the recent blog post here, I see that the recent is 2014, August 12th. You want to think in terms of either you write on your blog consistently or you take it off. You don't have a blog. There's nothing worse than a blog that isn't updated. So think about, what does that communicate to anyone who comes to your blog, to a meeting planner who wants to hire you? What this communicates, okay, he hasn't updated it since August 2014. It's almost a year now. He hasn't updated in almost a year. So, maybe he's not really like just keeping up with the times, and he's not really just doing stuff in general, and maybe he doesn't actually speak all that much, because if he did, then he would like basically keep his website updated. I'm thinking like, oh, maybe this guy doesn't speak anymore, because I see the last post is 2014. So I'm not going to contact, even if they loved you and they saw this and you feel like a website isn't updated. You think like, oh man, well now I can't contact them, because even if I try to, they're not going to respond because they're off doing something else. So either you update your blog or you take it off completely. Now, when I go, oh, and by the way, I actually didn't notice this until now. Why do you not have contact me up here? There is no contact up here. They have to scroll down to the sidebar and look in the sidebar. The problem with this, number one, very few people actually look in the sidebar, especially for a contact page. We always look up here. We say, okay, where can we contact people? Or maybe down here, which is, it's right there, but still you want to have it up there in the header. And so when I go on to the contact page, I see your address and all this stuff. As a meeting planner, once again, well, as you as a speaker, you want to think in terms of, if it doesn't add, it detracts. You don't need to have your address on there, because it's kind of like, what's the point? Why do you need your address on there? There's absolutely no reason. It's not like they're going to show up at your door or anything like that. They're probably not going to just randomly ship stuff to you. So there's no reason to have your address there. You want to only have your number and your email, if that's how you want to be contacted. And then I also wanted to mention is, I'm assuming you got this question from me. How long do you want Rick to perform/speak for? Whenever you listen to anything that I tell you to do, you need to translate it into what you do specifically. So the reason I ask this question to perform or speak for is because I do both a show and I do speaking. I'm assuming that you don't do a show, that you don't do like just a show in general. So you just want to ask, how long do you want Rick to speak for? So don't have this perform right there. And that's just with all information about anything. You have to take information and translate it specifically to your situation. So that's why you want to change this question here. And then on all your pages, like every single page, all your pages needs more social proof. It needs more pictures, testimonials, video testimonials, live video footage, client logos. Everything needs more social proof. You have to think in terms of, as I'm a meeting planner and I'm trying to bring you in as a keynote speaker, well, I need to know, are you good? Like, don't tell me you're good. You can have here, you can put Rick is the greatest speaker in the world. But what I need to see is proof. I need to see like, okay, is this guy Rick? Does he really have a great presentation? And what I use to decide if you're good or not are pictures, videos, so I can actually see whether or not you get great reactions and see if you have a great presentation style, and video testimonials and all that stuff. When I go to Steve Spangler's website here, look at that. I mean, it just looks fun. It says hands-on, high-energy engagement. I immediately see all this stuff. I'm like, wow, it looks pretty engaging. And then you see, okay, he's next to Ellen. It says visually stunning fun for audiences. So visually stunning, there's the picture right there. Transformational experiences. Look, there's a lady on stage doing this thing and he's throwing something and you're like, wow, okay, this looks like, not only is he saying high energy, but it looks like he has high energy. You can see an entire audience there. So the same goes with your website. Whenever you make a claim, you have to back it up with proof. So that's the basics of the things that I would change with your website. Right now, you can get tons of video testimonials. Even if you don't have any speaking gigs lined up, you can still go out and get testimonials from people you know, people you've done stuff in the past for. Just get video testimonials, plaster that all over your website, but think in terms of social proof. And like I said, Steve Spangler, he has a great website. You can just look at his website, see that. You can go to my website, look at my website. You can go to Brad Montgomery's website. He has a great website as well. But you want to think in terms of massive social proof. So go ahead, make those changes, and you're good to go for now.